Hey everyone, it's ZombieBiscotti, and today we're going to continue playing Seduce Me. Seduce Me. No, so if you're just now tuning in, I'm going to have the link to the first video in the description. And we just left off, Malix came by, big oopsie scary devil, and I'm protected by magic, and there's still men in my house, and I'm about to go to bed again, so let's see what happens. I went to bed that night feeling nervous. Despite the words of the incubi, I felt like a target to something I've never been able to explain or prove. Magic? Devils? Demons? How did this all even happen? Should I really meddle with the situation? They're only staying until after they defeat Malix. That's right. They said they'd only stay until after they defeated Malix. After that, my life could go back to normal. Temporary insanity, as Kay would say. The question was then, would I want them to leave? If my life went back to normal, then I'd have to care for the house all on my own. I'd get to focus on my life instead of being distracted by the boys. I'd have to. My life. Where was my life going anyway? I was under pressure from my parents with only my friends and the boys to comfort me. Without the boys, I'd have no way to hide from my responsibilities. Enough. Let's just sleep and deal with tomorrow when it comes. Defeating my sense of thought, I forced myself to sleep, unsure of what tomorrow had planned for me. Hopefully, whatever the future had for me, I would be ready for it.
I promise to be with you forever. You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you.
Please, let me...
Oh my god, what am I dreaming?
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
I want to be with you.
I love you.
Oh my god! I just had like a girly dream. Okay. I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to get back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace across from the bed. A sigh escaped from between my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? Go back to sleep? That's what I would do, or just lay there. Just close the curtains, get rid of the sun. Alright. So do I want to work on homework? No. Do I want to make some coffee? Or do I want to explore the house? I kind of want to explore the house because we haven't really done that yet. So I'm totally going to go with this. I decided it was a good idea to wander around the house. I never really explored it much as a child, so there were bound to be new surprises. Well, come on feet, let's go on an adventure. I stood and exited my room, hoping that the boys were still asleep. I began to wander the halls on my end of the house, opening each door to find what room each door led to. Quickly, I found an old office. A desk and chair sat by the far side as a large bookshelf of documents and memorabilia adorned its nooks and crannies. There were a couple of pictures of me growing up peeking from the shelf as I walked further into the room. I don't believe I've been in here before. I tried to recall memories of ever seeing this room, coming up with nothing as a result. This room was new to me. Did I want to disturb the furniture? I'm curious. I gently opened the shelves and any drawers I saw in the room, and a couple of them were books and even sewing kits. I assumed they were used for my grandfather's toys, so I left them alone. One drawer, however, was locked, no matter how many times I pulled. Grr! Come on, open! Nothing. It would not budge. The drawer beside it, though, did, revealing a laptop. Why is there a laptop in a drawer? I lifted it from the drawer and carried it over to the desk and chair, opening it. It was a high-tech laptop with a retina scanner as a pass lock. I was not sure whether or not to try to unlock it or not. I think we should try to open it. I decided to try. I turned on the computer and laid my face near the retina scanner, lining the camera up with my eye. To my surprise, I heard a ping come from the computer before the screen opened to a desktop. Huh, look at that. On the desktop were documents and folders labeled with different aspects of the Anderson Company. Taxes, profits, bylaws, products, the list went on and on. If I really did want to become the CEO of the Anderson Toys Company, I had everything about it at my fingertips. Dad would sure be impressed. One icon, however, stood out from the rest. Virgo? I double-clicked the icon, but no window came up. Instead, I heard a large click come from the drawer that was locked. What the? I slowly left my seat and walked over to the drawer, attempting to open it again. It slid open, smoothly in the direction of my pulling hand, revealing 2 books. One was a plain black journal with a tie to keep it closed. The other was bound in leather with cryptic symbols all over the cover. I took out the journal and skimmed through it, seeing my grandfather's notes. They were all detailed explanations and opinions on his findings on demon magic. Oh, okay, so here's where I find out more about why the house is protected. He really did know about magic. I sat down at the desk and read through the journal further, finding drawings and sketches of symbols and magic circles, each with their own different meanings and effects. It was all fascinating. There was even a page of important spells to know. I read through them, trying to memorize them into my mind. I don't know what came over me, but I started to feel more energetic and more powerful simply reading my grandfather's notes. I was suddenly aware of the energy that surrounded my body and the power that was around the house. The more I read, the more powerful I became. However, my mind suddenly froze and I found myself walking back to the drawer, putting the book back and closing the drawer. The lock reset, and I snapped out of it. Huh? What? I shook my head and looked at the drawer, realizing what I had done. I walked over to the desk to reopen the lock, but suddenly felt the need to stop. Something held me back and didn't want me to pry any more than I already had. I was curious beyond belief, but I obeyed my thoughts for now. Eventually, I'd come back and look into it. I returned to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under the covers to try sleeping again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes, back to sleep. Shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone and checked the time once again. It was noon, yet it felt like I had slept for so much longer. Why is time going so slowly? Sighed, got changed into normal clothes, and went out to the main hall and sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went out to the backyard in response to the noise I had heard. In the yard were all 5 of the boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle, with the other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. I want to watch. I want to be a creeper. I just watched. The boys were very much in their own world, focusing on the training they were all in. It was better not to disturb them. I checked the time and decided to head inside the kitchen. I was getting hungry, and I'm sure the boys would need to eat soon, so lunch was a must. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make... do we want to make chicken and rice, sandwiches, or pizza? I'm gonna go with sandwiches. Because why not? I assembled simple ham sandwiches for all of us. After I poured some potato chips on the side of each sandwich, I felt satisfied. Who said lunch had to be cooked? I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried that dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular. The other part of me wanted to just leave them be and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Maybe I could go out today while the boys focus on training. Find one in the incubi or go to my room. Well, I've been alone all day. Let's socialize. I quickly rushed back and grabbed a second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. I couldn't find any of them. I could only shrug, though. They knew where the food was, so I went to my room instead and ate alone in my room. Oh my god, maybe if I'd made, like, the chicken and rice, they would have smelled it. It's not my problem. I turned on my computer and started to jam the music as I ate my food. As I ate, I began to think about going out. There are so many places to go, things to do. Do I want to go out? Well, if I go out, I might run into Malik's. So, I'm going to stay in my room. I needed to stay in. There's really no need to spend my day anywhere except at home. I'll just entertain myself. The question was how. Play a video game, study, browse the internet, watch a movie. Let's play a video game. I looked at the TV in my room, wondering if my old console grandfather bought me, conveniently kept here, worked on it. I suddenly groaned at the thought of setting it up. Too many wires. That is so me. I hate hooking up electronics or consoles or like moving my computer around because I hate like all these wires and everything connects into something, and then if you don't put it in right, it's so annoying. So I always make my brother do it. I was bored though, and I craved to play some games. Maybe I should have went to the arcade. I sighed and stood up. I began to dig around in the drawers and hidden areas of the room. Eventually, I found it with a smile. There you are, beautiful. I ignored my lazy mental cries and set up the console, turning it on and seeing what game was in the console. Little Cause. I'd rather play Dungeon Era. I switched games and started up a new game. The Premise. You were the dungeon keeper and you had to stop monsters from appearing in your dungeon or else they'd destroy the world. Beautiful storytelling. I was zipping my way through levels faster than I had imagined myself doing, so after years of not playing it, I watched as my dungeon keeper slashed through each monster upon monster with ease, yelling her battle cry before and after each kill. Die, demon! I stopped. The monsters were demons? I watched as the monsters appeared on the screen and took swings at my dungeon keeper. They were indeed, for lack of a better word, monstrous. Leather skin, spikes, pointed teeth, growls that defied human sound, the works. I couldn't help but laughing. Demons do not look like that. I stopped as I heard those words come out of my mouth. What was I saying? Did I really say that? I paused the game and rubbed my face with my hands. I can't believe I actually said that. Out of pure instinct, I ejected the game and put in Little Cause. Sci-fi. I need sci-fi. I needed to get back into reality. Shooting aliens and being the greatest force in space was, in my mind, more realistically acceptable than slaying demons. Even the romance my character had with an alien crewmate appeased me. I felt my brain just empty as I played my video game all the way until my stomach growled for dinner. The remainder of the night passed by, surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, but I felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still I felt lonely. So I feel like maybe I picked the wrong option. I probably should have interrupted them or made something that they would smell, because I basically spent the whole day by myself. Boring. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. It felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly the next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked at my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I had gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and get dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet, and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time. 6:30. Perfect! I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs into the kitchen. I quickly made myself coffee and toast, not having time for anything big. I let out a soft sigh of happiness as I sipped my coffee. I felt great, and I felt like nothing could stop me today. Why do I feel like something's gonna happen, right? Come at me, day. I'm ready for you. I looked at the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the doors, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gates with Suzu waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about homework and the coming day. We made it into the hall without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed to and got our important books and necessities. First incident of the day. As I walked towards Susie and Naomi, who were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hall, something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. Whoa! How?
Hey, are you okay?
Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a look of complete innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little...
Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time this had happened to me. However, it was now clear who was behind these incidents. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was a mastermind just from the look on her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. So to glare into her soul. So do I stand up and walk away, glare into her soul, or get her? Oh my god, I don't want to get suspended. I'm gonna glare into her soul. I glared hard at Lisette, feeling wisps of air and magic run through my skin and veins. However, I stopped at what I saw. Around Lisette was a dark purple aura that seemed all too familiar. It was like demon magic, but it seemed to be tamer. I slowly rose to my feet, collecting my belongings as I continued to stare at Lisette. Something was off. As I continued to look at her, the aura grew, forming a shadow behind Lisette with red eye-like shapes glowing from within its darkness.
Anderson, you alright?
I couldn't respond. I was entranced by a small hum in the air. It was distant, almost like an ethereal whisper you'd hear in horror games, but it was real. It sounded vaguely of a woman, humming a tune I didn't recognize.
Hey, are you okay?
So I wonder if Lisette is another demon. Let's go. We'll be late for class. I suddenly felt the need to walk away, so I did. Naomi and Susie scrambled to catch up and follow up my new, quickened pace.
Sheesh, Anderson. You look like you saw a ghost.
Are you really okay? That fall was pretty bad.
Think she saw underneath Lisette's cake face and saw the devil itself.
Oh, Suzu, hush!
No, something was wrong with Lisette. It was more than just her being mean. There was something or someone watching over Lisette. Or they were watching me behind Lisette. What they were doing, I didn't know, but it was definitely demonic. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this. Why was he going to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I had played the entire album with no one showing up. What the hey? Dad's never late, especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal error? How do I not have signal? I double-checked my bar and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed at my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary, feeling their hands on me. I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey!
The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus of a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. All I knew was that I was in trouble. I should have not gone to school. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sounds that passed my ears, first of the interior of a car, then the outside, then an echoing space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wrap around my eyes was eventually removed from my face and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere for you.
Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
Do I wait or do I fight? So I know Taekwondo, so I think I should fight him. No way this was happening. No way was I going to let myself be a victim of this. I gotta remember, what was in that book?
What are you whimpering? Are you praying that the boys will come and save you?
I kept grumbling, trying to remember, and shut my eyes. Studying for a brief second was enough to keep a spell in my mind, but I had to try something. Anything. All of a sudden the air grew still and silent. I opened my eyes and looked around and gasped at the sight. Everything was frozen in time, as if the clocks had stopped and everything had followed suit. What the... At first I instantly wanted to move, but my feet were glued to the ground. I guess I couldn't change time and escape from where I was, but I was still lost. What was I supposed to do? A soft wisp of wind made me turn to a floating light purple orb. I stared as it glowed, giving off a warm feeling. For some reason, this thing made me feel happy and content, despite the situation I was in. My heart felt like crying, yet I didn't know why. I wonder if that's like her grandfather's spirit. It couldn't have been... Grandfather? As I muttered, the orb slowly grew and faded into a spirit of my grandfather from when I last saw him. I stared up at him, completely shocked that I was correct and that his form was standing in front of me.
I guess it was a good idea to bring the incubi here after all.
What? Is it really you? What do you mean? My grandfather smiled before patting my head gently. I couldn't feel it, but I knew he tried, so I closed my eyes in acknowledgement before looking at him again.
Sweetie, I'm sorry for not telling you, but I didn't know if you were ready to know.
That you handle demon magic?
Yes.
Why? What is there to gain from learning and using demon magic?
It wasn't a matter of gaining anything except knowledge. Through magic, I was able to learn more about the demon world and its wonders. I even met your incubi friends.
You met the boys?
Yes, it was I who helped them come here, but it seems it was at the cost of my life.
What? Why? Why sacrifice yourself like that? None of this made sense. He died to bring the incubi into the human world? Why? Why? My mind was practically screaming in anger. I needed answers. With time being frozen, we had all the time in the world. Why would you die for something like that? Why leave us alone? Why leave me? Why life? Why would you die for something like that? Why leave us alone? Why leave me alone?
I wasn't intending to, my dear. But now that I'm gone, you have a chance to find yourself without anything hindering you.
What?
Your father had always been so hard on you. I'm to blame for that. He learnt of my studies before he married your mother and pushed me away, promising to never follow in my footsteps. As he was my son, I still loved and cared for him. I helped him in little ways, from paying bills and making sure he had food to come home with by adding money to his accounts. You don't know how hard your father worked to get to where he is now.
I stared, trying to take it all in. It was true that my dad worked really hard, but I didn't realize how rough he had it.
When you were born, I couldn't have been any happier. I tried to give you as many toys as I could, but many of them were tossed away by your father to protect you from me. I thought I would never be able to see you, but when I found you on the street, I was blessed enough to be given a chance. After I brought you back to your parents, I asked your mother to convince your father to let you visit me often, and he finally agreed.
Why does Dad hate you so much? Why put that on me?
Your father saw me as a monster. He was afraid I would hurt you. He wanted to protect you from me at all costs, even if it meant becoming a monster to you himself.
You did not know my father. You did not know what he was capable of.
He truly does love and care for you, but he doesn't want you to be as curious as I was.
Curious?
I chose to learn about magic. I grew curious about it. He thought that was wrong, so when I didn't give it up, he shut me out of his life.
You're learning magic? How could you? Blah.
What a stubborn old man.
So I did the only thing I could do. I gave everything I owned to you, including my hidden books your father never knew of.
My head began to spin. There was too much information. It was all going so fast, despite time not moving a single inch.
I'm just so happy that my curiosity stayed with you.
So my grandfather met the incubi. That seemed so surreal. I could hardly believe it, yet here was the spirit of my grandfather telling me. It was almost like a dream. So you introduced them to the human world?
That's right. I told them about the wonders of our world and they all wanted to come to experience it. So I helped them come over and gave them everything they needed. They traveled everywhere and I helped them as they learned more about humans. Then, I suddenly stopped breathing. I don't know why, but I believe it was because my time was up. After I died, the boys tried to come back. However, Malix attacked them instantly when they crossed his path. I used the last bit of my strength to guide them to the estate so they had a place to stay to heal.
So that's why they were in the house. But they said they didn't know about the house belonging to anyone.
I never told them it belonged to anyone. I merely told them to head to the estate for shelter until they could learn to live on their own.
If the estate was meant for them, why give it to me?
I never knew your father would move you in so quickly. Even still, you managed to learn of them and learn of the demon world. You even were curious enough to study the magic.
Why not teach me when I visited?
You were too young to understand. I was hoping that you would make the choice to learn on your own when you were ready to handle it. And you did. I'm so proud of you.
What are you saying? I've barely begun reading it. I don't remember anything.
I will help you remember.
Then my grandfather gently bent down and kissed my forehead. All at once my mind began to fill with spells and history of arcane magic, the demon world, and everything my grandfather had known. I looked up at my grandfather again, now able to remember everything and more as he smiled down at me.
Never forget. Make your own choices and do what you need to do. Don't let someone determine your life for you. If you decide to never look at magic again, I'll understand. But now at least you know it's there.
My grandfather then patted my head before turning and walking away. I tried to follow after, still unsure and lost as ever, but my feet remained stuck to the floor. Wait, please! He didn't turn back and he didn't stop walking. Soon he vanished past the wall, leaving me alone once again. I gritted my teeth, trying not to cry. My mind was filled with both the power to defend myself and a large amount of confusion I could never hope to shake off. I could feel the air around me start to move again, so I tightened my hands into fists, trying to push away my concerns. I had to remember. I was Malix's captive. I had to escape. After I escaped, I could figure out my life.